Hello, my friends. My name is Mary Howard Leppo, and I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, and I specialize in perimenopause and menopausal women, or really postmenopausal women, because menopause is really only one day. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about weight loss. This will be part one of two. Part two will be next week because as we start the new year, everybody's kind of on this I got to get fit, I got to lose weight train. And then everybody kind of gets off that train by the time springtime comes. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about sustainability and just things to kind of sit down and really ask yourself and get clear on some things before you start that journey. So, overall, it's about small, sustainable steps. So, when we tend to do these big overhauls, doing too much too soon, we're getting everything out of the pantry. We bought all this stuff at the grocery store. Blah 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 blah, and we haven't really thought everything through. That usually works for a little bit, and then life sets in and all of the regular stressors and pressures and everything comes in, and then we start to slowly justify, well, this is okay if I do that, this is okay if I do that, this is okay if I do that, and now you're no better off than when you started, and then that becomes frustrating in itself. So I like small sustainable steps. So when I first started my journey, the very first thing I did, it wasn't about, I'm going to clear out my pantry of this, that, and the other. Is like, I am going to focus on one thing. And that one thing was starting with caffeine. So I started reducing caffeine first. And that took some time. That took a couple months. But I was very consistent about it because I had realized that getting that cup of coffee or whatever in the morning wasn't really something I needed. I was already a morning person. It was just a habit of going into the kitchen and getting that. So I slowly start to cut that out. Some people like the flavor of coffee, so therefore they don't want to give it up. Well, maybe we slowly switch over to decaf, and then you can get the flavor of your coffee without all the caffeine. So just, different things like that. And then I started, okay, so now I'm going to slowly switch over and substitute this out for that and what have you. So that's what I did. The other thing that you want to look at here that a lot of people I think miss in the gung-ho-ness of the new year is thinking short term versus long term. So especially when we're talking about 5, 10, 15, those vanity pounds or what have you, we think about, I need this quick fix. I need to fix this now. And anything will work in the short term almost. And so then you've lost that. And then you go back to your old habits. And then here we are again the next year. And you're starting over with that New Year's diet. I got to get fit, all these kinds of things. So think about long term. When we talk about losing weight, getting fit, getting healthy, we want to think about the long term because we want it to change us. This slowly starts to become our new lifestyle. It becomes who we are, our new identity, if you will. You don't really want the identity of, I'm going to be on the diet in January of every new year. Like, why? Why? We want to think about these things long term. So we're not always on a diet. We're not always looking to lose that 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, however much it is. So you want to think about the long term. And again, that small sustainable steps. Okay. And so then you want to go a little bit more. You really want to dive deep. You want to get specific. Okay. So you want to ask yourself these questions. You want to go beyond the surface level stuff. Well, I need to fit into this dress for so-and-so's wedding. Well, I want to get all these likes that I've lost this weight or whatever, on whatever social media outlet because I need compliments and that's the only way I know how to get them. Whatever it is, you want to look deeper than that. So these are some questions that I ask my clients before I ever even give them an offer to really dive deep and really think. So I'm going to offer them to you, and hopefully they will help you do the same. So going deeper, and these are not in any specific order, I just kind of wrote these down on top of my head. What have you tried before? What worked? What didn't work? Why did it work? Why didn't it work? Okay. So if someone tells me, oh, well, I'm going to do this keto diet because I can lose a quick, 10, 15 pounds. I'm like, okay, well, what happens after that? It's like, well, I go off the diet. And then they're back on the keto diet, and then they go off, and then they're back on the keto diet. Well, does that really work on the long term? You have to think long term to get long term sustainable results. So think about, why did it work? What have you done? What have you not done? Why did it work? Why didn't it work? What would you ideally want your overall health to look like? So go just beyond the weight. Is it, also, I want to get off, blood pressure medications, or at least reduce my amount. I want to go off or reduce the amount of my cholesterol medication because the copays on these things are crazy. And I would rather spend that money doing something fun than paying for medications. Okay. Now, I'm not knocking medications. They're there if you need them, but we can also do things to kind of maybe reduce the amount or eliminate them entirely. So kind of get specific on what you want your health to look like overall. What are you specifically looking for? Okay. What does success look like for you? You want to lose weight, you want to lose XYZ pounds, but what would that look like to you overall? What does that look like? Success look like for you? Does it mean that you've also got more energy? You can wear clothes again that are in your closet, so you don't have to continuously get a new wardrobe every time you gain a pound or two. Those kinds of things. Is it, reduce medication? Are you, have a new interest in different things? Are hormones now more balanced? So you feel better in other areas of your life. So what would success look like for you? Are there any factors holding you back? Fear is a big one. A lot of people, think about, well, I got to lose weight, I got to do fit because that's what everybody else is seemingly doing. But what does that look like for you? Is that really what you want? What is your identity wrapped around with those things? Okay. And is it okay with you to really change that identity? And for some people, changing that identity, getting healthy, maintaining that healthy, not everybody around you will like that. For whatever reason, because it usually lets them know they need to make the same changes, and they may or may not be ready or willing to do that. Okay. So are there any factors around you holding you back? And sometimes that might be an unsupportive spouse or somebody close to you too, but that's worth acknowledging. Acknowledge that. What factors are holding you back? What helps you be successful? That's very important. Is it accountability? Is it knowing what steps to take? Is it having the support in place? Is it structure? So for me, structure is a big one. So that's why I talked about in previous videos, that morning routine, that PM routine, all of those things, having that structure. For me, that's a sense of freedom, knowing what I'm going to do and knowing what's coming next, right? So just some things to really dive deep and ask yourself, what do you really want? What does that look like for you? What do you think is the best plan moving forward for you? All of those things, because it's all important. It's really important. Go beyond the surface level stuff. So those are questions to ask yourself. You want to get specific. You want to think long-term versus short-term and small sustainable steps. And next week, we'll talk a little bit more in depth on things you can do to get you there. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week.